Hello and welcome to another episode of One on One. Today I have sitting here with me James Knight-Pacheco. Hello, Chef James.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. I'm very excited about what's going to happen in our chat. So yeah.
So am I. I'm really glad that we have done this. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while.
Good. I hope I don't disappoint.
No, you haven't. We've been talking for so long before the cameras were rolling,
Yeah.
so already I'm impressed.
Okay.
So, Chef James, TV show host, podcaster. I have notes here. Instructor, innovator, influencer, campaign celebrity chef, business owner, consultant. Like, the list is endless. I think I have to ask you what you don't do at this point.
Well, to be honest, at the moment, yeah, I'm not cooking, unfortunately, because I'm so busy. So that's what I'm not doing.
Okay.
But yeah, look, I think it's really important nowadays. Obviously, being a chef, originally you have to, do everything and anything in the kitchen when it comes to managing your orders, managing the people, HR, front of house. All of that is encompassing, finance, and chefs generally also hate finance, by the way, as in just dealing with it. But I just thought, I want to push myself outside my comfort zone as much as I possibly can. And if I fail at something, at least I would say I tried. And that's why I think it's really important just to push as much as possible. And that culture also comes from the Michelin-starred background, because that's what you're taught at a very young age, to work and push as hard as you can, do as many jobs as you can, but be laser focused.
Right.
So that's where it comes from.
Now, I'm going to get into great detail all the many roles you've had abroad and here in the UAE. Before we get into all of that good stuff, I want to get to know you a whole lot better. And I want to start by asking you, what was your absolute favorite home-cooked meal when you were a kid?
So, I have two backgrounds. That's why people ask me all the time, why the Knight-Pacheco? So I was born in Venezuela, in South America. My mum's Venezuelan, and my dad is British. So born in Venezuela, I was there until around sort of 8, 9, and then came to England. And so that's why I've got the two heritages. For me, I loved Venezuelan food, and I still very much love Venezuelan food. There's something in particular called arepas. And so it's basically like they have it for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner. And it's basically corn maize cooked in a really beautiful way, very, very simple. And then you literally stuff it with anything you want. So for breakfast, it could have been like a very certain way of doing scrambled eggs, for example, with fresh avocado, or it could have been with 3 types of cheese and smoked turkey ham. In the evening, they sort of have it with pulled beef, like slow roast pulled beef. So for me, it's still like my love. I still very much love it. So that's what I really adore. But also the fact that the culture in South America generally is very strong with family roots and food, like super strong.
You can't see it, but I'm salivating now thinking about all of that delicious food. What was it like growing up in Venezuela?
It was amazing. It was really incredible, honestly. There was no need or any excuse. Everybody was always on party mode, to be honest. Everybody was very happy. It was a really bubbly place, beautiful. And yeah, I really loved my time there, and I go back there when I can, but at the moment, unfortunately, there's a lot of political instability, but generally, it was amazing. I loved it, really, very, very much.
And what was the transition like for you as a kid moving back to the UK?
Well, so it was my first time, to be honest.
Sorry, yeah,
so,
going into the UK.
So imagine, right, just imagine you're a really happy kid, sunshine, it's amazing, and then you go to England when it's grey and rainy, and the people there are a bit miserable. It was brilliant, So yeah, it was a bit of a transition. I didn't know the language at all. I didn't know the language at all. Excuse me, it was tough, I have to say. As a kid, it was tough. So obviously, you're away from your family.
Right.
Number one, you don't know the culture. You don't know the food. I literally didn't know anything. I was just there to make sure I'd looked after my sisters because I'm the oldest boy.
Oh,
so I was
okay.
like, okay, protect them. So yeah, it was a big transition. Yeah, so it took a bit of time, to be honest, for me to sort of adapt. But I was still, you know, very much in the land of sun.
Right.
You know.
And you said you went over to the UK around 9.
Yeah.
So what was high school like for you?
Yeah, also quite tough, I
Yeah.
would say. But I had a trick up my sleeve.
Okay.
So the main sort of exams in the UK, they're called GCSEs, from when you're sort of 15 to 16. And that's when you take them. I took my Spanish GCSE at 13 because that was my chosen language. So
Good
I
for
was
you.
like, well, you know, so languages was a thing that I loved.
Okay.
And I still very much love languages. I'm very curious about languages, to be honest. So again, it wasn't great high school, but it sort of helped me in a way that gave me a lot of belief in myself because I did different things. So originally I wanted to study to become a musician. So I studied music and got into the bands and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of every year, so the last year, you have like student of the year. I wasn't very studious, to be honest. I was more about organizing concerts and being cool and playing the drums and that kind of stuff, but really organizing things for the school. And when student of the year came up, there was another guy sat across me who was, his name, I even still know his name, Matt Percival. And he was like the geek. He was really good at sports, all of that kind of stuff. And everybody was like, okay, Matt's gonna get this student of the year award. So then they said my name, and he looked at me like, what? And I was like, yeah, because it was a complete shock.
Right.
So that sort of then led me to start a journey of, okay, I can actually believe in myself a little
Right.
bit. And it's not just about my background, because also people who don't know you, you know, obviously at school you have the bullying and all of that kind of
course.
stuff as well, but this sort of led me on a journey to like, okay, I can really push and do amazing things for people generally.
I suppose also because you didn't traditionally do what students would win that award for, but you were bringing the school together in
Right.
different ways, right?
Yes.
And that was seen. You were seen.
Yes.
Your efforts were seen.
But at the time, I was just thought, oh, this is really cool. Everybody likes it. So I wasn't trying to do it on purpose,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
But it was a big surprise.
You said you love music and you went into music first.
Yes.
Were you any good?
So we played at Glastonbury Festival.
Wow.
I played in 3 different bands. So I loved music generally. So first of all, I'm going back to my South American roots. I actually ended up leading a samba band, or what they call a batucada. And that's about 40 different drummers,
Wow.
like an orchestra, if
Okay.
you like. So you have bass, treble, all that kind of stuff. And in Brazil, generally, there's a massive carnival sort of in January, February. But these bands are massive. So imagine 40 people, and then they've got, each one of them has a percussion instrument. I was the guy at the front leading them.
Wow.
So I did that for a long time, and I loved it. On top of that, I studied basically playing like punk rock music, hip hop, loads of stuff like that, but I also ended up playing guitar and a bit of piano. So I really loved music because, again, it transported me back into different memories, different times, and generally in my mind, when you first hear music, it doesn't matter what genre, it sort of puts you
In a mood.
in the mood, or takes you somewhere else, you know. So I really loved it, and I studied it. But again, I didn't study it in the traditional sense. I could read music, but I didn't take it to the level. So normally the highest level is what they call grade 8.
Okay.
So I went to grade 4. I got bored, to be honest. But then I started thinking, okay, if I just study these drummers or these people, then I'll copy. And that's exactly what I did. So I was really good with hearing, and that's what I did. So I became really, you know, quite professional. We toured the UK and things like that. As I told you, we went to different countries. We did Glastonbury, we did Notting Hill Carnival, all that kind of stuff. We got signed. But then, you know, it got to a time where we had to get jobs,
Okay.
you know? And that's where I was like, okay, I already was pre-working in kitchens and restaurants just to earn some money. and I didn't think about it at all. I wasn't like, oh, you know, this is a career. And it was my father who said, look, okay, we need to make a choice here. And, you know, 18-year-old James was like, yeah, musician, it's really cool. But he was like, that's fine, but you need to have a trade. You need to do something with your hands, because he was an engineer, electrical engineer. So if you're a chef, you'll always have a job. You can travel the world, and most importantly, everybody needs to eat. So
That's true.
Like,
this is what your dad said.
yeah.
Did you have an affinity for cooking at that time?
I loved cooking, but it was more social, because I told you, it went back to the time in Venezuela where,
Right.
you know,
You got to eat.
we
and
got to
let's
eat,
make, yeah.
and let's make it fun, and it was more of a social thing, but I really loved to do it. And then I started working in restaurants, but I never thought it was really going to take me anywhere. But then when I made the change, so I stopped studying at college at music, I went back into college from zero to hospitality management for 3 years.
I'm going to repeat something you said. Everybody loves food, but not everybody makes a career out of it the way you have. So how did this become your passion and your purpose? So take me back to hospitality school. What was that like? And then when was it? Because something always hits you, you know, at a certain point in your journey where you realize, wait, this is a big deal. This is a big opportunity. I could do something with this.
Yeah. So when I first got into college, for some reason they put me into, again, hospitality management, so studious. So I was a little bit older. Everybody else was 16. I was sort of 18 and a half. I managed to sort of scrape in. And I already had a bit of life experience, and I'd already started working in kitchens. So I had my own set of knives, that kind of stuff. But I wasn't until sort of halfway through the college when I started doing more of the cookery, I got introduced to the world of Michelin. And that's when I started looking at, okay, who's Marco Pierre White? Who are all these TV chefs? But really it was like fine dining Michelin. And then I geeked out, and I ended up buying a library of books. So that was when Jamie Oliver first came onto the scene as the naked chef. He was super young, but doing some really cool stuff. Gordon Ramsay started emerging, and there was a particular show called Boiling Point, which was the first ever sort of television show that showed the truth about cooking at 3-star Michelin level.
Right.
And if you look on YouTube now and you type in Gordon Ramsay's Boiling Point, these tiny cameras fly on the wall. It's like Big Brother, but back then he was brutal in the way that he was basically, he had 2 Michelin stars, Gordon, and he was going for his 3rd. And that transition, and there was no sort of filter with Gordon. He was really focused. So on one hand, there was Jamie Oliver, and on the other, there was Gordon. And I think they did a study that by the 1st or 2nd episode of Gordon Ramsay's Boiling Point, the colleges, or the catering colleges, sort of people who wanted to join, so on and so forth, just dropped by 50%.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because they saw the truth, you know. But I loved it. I was in.
Sucker for punishment.
Yeah, I was in. But I didn't realize how I would really be involved in it. And
What was it about that entire scenario that made you feel like, I want to do that, I want to be there?
Well, I think because I saw food as a means to happiness when it comes to family, I never saw it when it came to sort of fine dining. So in the industry, normally, if you want to learn back then, you go to work for free.
Okay.
So I went to a few of the sort of Michelin-starred restaurants. It's called a stage, where you go to the kitchen and you're there for 12 to 16 hours a day, totally for free, but you're learning, you know? And when I first walked into those kitchens and I saw how all of these chefs were really focused and concentrated, and then the food they were doing, I was in. And that was the point. I was like, I fell in love with high-end, fine dining cooking, because then it wasn't just about the food, because the chef is saying, look, we're responsible for running the restaurant. We're responsible for the guest experience. People traveled 300-400 kilometers just to be here tonight.
Right.
And we're going to embed a memory for the rest of their lives. And when you're sort of, you first sort of hear that, you're like, oh my God, you know? And that's what sparked the fine dining part.
Because you saw like the artistry plus the business side of things,
Yeah.
right? Felt like a serious job.
It did, but I didn't care. The thing is, I didn't care about the hours. And at the same time, a lot of people would compare chefs to pirates, shall we say?
I have never heard that comparison.
So,
Please share.
because you know, there's so much camaraderie in the
Okay.
kitchen. There's so much messing around and stitching each other up and all that kind of stuff. So you have that sort of brotherhood, if you like, you know, of just really like. I mean, there are some stories that I could say for another time, but you know, then they become your friends for life.
Right.
You know, but when it came to what we call service, 12 o'clock, when everything is, you know, 12 to 3 or 6 to 10, that's when you become very serious. Everybody,
It's game time.
yeah. After that, again, you mess around or whatever, but yeah, it was amazing. It was really amazing.
You've had quite a beautiful career and you've had some great opportunities. You've actually worked with the likes of Gordon Ramsay, as you've mentioned. Can you tell us about that experience and when did that happen for you?
So the first time I went to London, I had a little bit of time in some different restaurants, but I still didn't have Michelin experience. So I was like, I wanted to just get to work with someone, he was my idol at the time, Gordon. He had around, I think, 11 Michelin-starred restaurants in the center of London at the time. And I went for the interview. It was super scary, walking into the back of Claridge's. So Claridge's as a hotel is you know, it's kind of like the Savoy, the Ritz, Claridge's, you know. A lot of history with Claridge's. Just generally, it's a 1920s Art Deco hotel. You know, all the greats, royal families, you name it, they've all stayed there. Gordon was there. Beautiful dining room, like classical, beautiful. I mean, it was massive. I think it was around 150 guests you could put. Everything was crisp linen. So the restaurant was very calm. You go into the kitchen, different story. I always say it's like 50 hungry lions trying to get to the top, you know?
Right.
And that was another level, you know, of seriousness, of brotherhood, of people stitching each other up, sabotage. I mean, like, it was full on. Because the competition was so rife, you wanted to get to the top, so people would do anything. So in the beginning, I was very, like, very quiet, you know.
Don't
'cause
step on the lion's tail. Yeah.
So I got the job, that was cool, that was massive.
Wow.
Then first week was like, bang, because you're working 20 hours a day.
Right.
And you know that you are, but you're there for a reason.
And you feel it, right? It takes a toll on your body, I imagine.
Yeah, it does, of course, because, you know, you're not sleeping.
Right.
You're sleeping for 3 hours a night. You know, travel, so it's exhausting, but you don't care about the money, you don't care, you're just there to get it on your CV, you know.
What was the thing you used to tell yourself to get through those really hard days and hard hours?
Every day was a hard day. Not necessarily when you're in the kitchen, but it was waking up because you're so exhausted.
Right.
It was the physical waking up to jump in the shower quick, and you have to time manage everything,
I can imagine.
right?
Yeah.
So, and also to the point that I specifically lived in a very expensive area of London because I wanted to be closer.
To work.
Some people would be an hour away, you know, and so I don't know how they did it,
Right.
but it was tough. So the things I would say to myself is just like, you're doing this, you know, for your future. You're doing this
Right.
for the future, you know.
What did that future look like to you then?
To me then, I think it was the same goal that I have now, would be to open a really beautiful restaurant, for the restaurant and the team to have the Michelin star, and for me to be one of the top leaders within gastronomy. That was back then, you know, and that was always been the thing, because the thing what people don't understand, in my opinion, when it comes to specifically Michelin-starred restaurants is that when the restaurant curate an experience for you,
Right.
and they make you feel amazing, and it's the first time, that stays with you. And you know, and that's what I wanted to sort of put out there. It was about creating those memories, and not necessarily about the media stuff, because that would naturally come,
Sure.
but it was about being at the pinnacle of gastronomy, understanding my ingredients, understanding my team. So that's what I was thinking back then. But it was an education. I mean, college is not an education. Not at all.
Right. Yeah.
That was an education.
Yeah.
I think I learned far more in a week than I did in 3 years of college. That is not a joke.
I mean, you were working 20 hours, so you're probably more than that.
And also, you're dealing with different nationalities, people you don't know. Like, it was yeah, extreme. But I would not change it.
Right.
I would go back. If I had to do it again, I'd do it again.
You must have, I mean, obviously I've read your CV, right? I know you've had some pretty cool experiences, but tell me some of your career highlights, because obviously it's going to be the stuff that's propelled you to the next level and the next level, but I'm sure in between there's been some really beautiful moments and some great meetings and people. Tell me some of the career highlights that stand out.
Well, I was fortunate enough also to take part in a BBC television show with another incredible chef called Raymond Blanc. Now, the history with Raymond is that he's held 2 Michelin stars in the UK for 40 years. On top of that, he was the one who also showed Marco Pierre White how to cook, and many incredible chefs. So the show essentially was kind of like The Apprentice, if you know that show.
Yeah.
So there were basically 9 couples. So it could have been brother and sister, a friend, husband and wife, and each of you run a restaurant for a week. So I had a really good friend of mine, Ali, and we're still best mates. And I said to him, listen, there's this show just finished, season 1. I was like, we have to do that next year. We're going to win it because nobody knows what's going on, you know, and we're doing this and that. And I was super, like, again, focused on being on the show. And for me, it wasn't about media, that show. It was about being on the show and winning to get this restaurant from Raymond Blanc. So actually, it was about the media. So we got through. Thousands of people applied. We got through down to the final 9, and they were like, right, you have to cook for us. So we cooked for Raymond. I also, because I was thinking about cooking only, not thinking about the 1,000 lights, the studio, 10 cameras on me, my microphone, and they're picking up everything I'm saying. Everything. Yes. And then, of course, they were like, James said this. What's wrong? You know, and you're sweating, you know. So the first episode, we almost went out.
Okay.
But he was teaching me a lesson to be humble and to understand that you need to cook for your, you know.
Yeah.
So we got through and we got to the final. Myself and my friend Ali, we got to the final. We didn't win the prize, but we won a job with Raymond, which was almost more beneficial at Le Manoir, this incredible place.
Yeah.
And that changed everything for me, because then, of course, I relaxed a bit more. I understood, okay, media is really important, but also the people, how to manage marketing.
Yeah.
It was a huge lesson in how to run a restaurant efficiently.
Yes.
And what do you need?
Yes.
And I learned very quick. So that really made me think about media, and also working at 2-star Michelin level, which we did.
Yes.
So it was amazing. That was, I think, for me, that was a real key defining moment for me in that career.
I mean, you're sitting and you're telling me the story and I'm listening to you, but I don't know if you know that is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story for somebody to watch a show and say, we need to be on that show. I'm going to get on that show. We're going to participate. We're going to win. And then you end up doing just that. And then you actually did win, but a different prize.
Yes, yeah.
Because everybody's journey is different. But the fact that you wanted to be on that show and you got to be on that show in itself is such a big deal.
Do you know, the funny thing is that I had no expectation of even getting selected. We had zero expectation of being selected. And you go through a process with the BBC. They do psychoanalytics on you.
Okay.
They do these different types of tests, you know, then there's then okay, you're in for the next week. Then you're in for the next week. And all these auditions are in London. We lived 4 hours away. So, but we wanted it, and the last month we didn't hear anything. So we were like, that's okay. And then they called us and they're like, you're in, you are in. And that changed everything. Yeah, but it was
incredible.
amazing. Yeah.
That's a very cool story, James, really.
But yeah, very, very fortunate. And as I said, now then I understood what it meant to obviously have that hard work, and I understood why these specific chefs were so famous at the time, because they worked really well and alongside the media.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and how to give that specific time, because it was a time when the internet was just coming in. You know, the only way you could really sort of see menus and food was sort of through Facebook. People weren't really sort of, you know, going onto Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So everybody was buying all their books, and that's why they become so famous, because they're doing these television shows, and at the end came the book.
Yes. Yes.
So that's how they were marketing themselves, and then the rest started to snowball very quickly.
You know, it's interesting, you are touching on the subject of the relationship between chef and building a brand as a chef, which is a very important skill to have, especially today. But I guess not everybody does that well, because some people are better at just being a chef, not necessarily knowing how to build a brand.
Right.
If you had to tell me some of the most important things that a chef should be able to do or look at or think about when trying to build a brand, what would you say? Like, what is it that that helps you build that persona to the world, coming out of the kitchen, like a career outside of the kitchen?
Okay, I'm going to say something really weird.
Please, I love weird things.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, a chef, whether it's a man chef, woman chef, female chef, it's like having a baby, right? When you have a child, you have to be everything to that child.
Okay.
So what does that mean? You have to look after them, you have to guide them, you have to do all of these sorts of things. When you're building a brand for yourself, it's almost the same thing. You have to inspire. You have to go through the hard times. You're going to get people who hate you. You're going to get people who don't listen to you. You're going to go through everything. But your parents essentially are the first people that you look up to.
Right.
You know, and then you need to think, okay, as a chef, how can I inspire, you know, the new generation, or people who want to become chefs, or people who just want to have secrets of the kitchen. So it's really important. But as you said, now it's, I think, the single most important thing.
It's survival right now.
It is survival. Whereas before, everything was about the food
and the
only the
restaurant
food,
and staying open and
right.
making money. Yeah.
Whereas now, if your food, forget fine dining. If you go to a burger joint and if your burger's not Instagrammable, game over.
Yeah.
If your pizza is not Instagrammable, game over. You have to have a narrative. So the market has changed dramatically. People still want to have incredible food.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But what's the first thing they pick up? The phone. Chick, 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 you know? So they want to know who is the person behind this brand. So whenever I'm talking to the chefs about personal branding, okay, it's really nice that you did this plate, great. But they want to get to know the face.
Yes.
And that's even more important. And as you know, everybody has stories, so anybody can relate to you. So they want to understand, why this, why that, all that kind of stuff. So it's really important, really important.
You know, there's something, I don't know what it is, but there's something about human beings that really want to feel special. And if you walk into a restaurant and the chef or the owner of that restaurant knows you, if by name even better, but even just comes out and says, hey, how you doing? There's a sense that comes over you that you feel so special in this place because this person just made you feel like that, which is why it's so important that every place has a face and that face is known by the people that visit. I do want to say In this day and age, you can't avoid, like you said, the Instagram train and the social media and the TikTok and all of that stuff. You're going to get left behind, right? It's the way it's going, and if you don't jump on, you're going to be back at the train station. But I do have to bring up this point. You've had the best of both worlds, in a sense, because you came up at a time when things were different and you're here now. The restaurant business used to be the hardest business in the world. And if you go home and tell your family you're going to be a chef, they were just like, are you sure? Like, do you have the stamina? Do you have the stomach for this? It's a very hard business. But today, and especially in this region, it is one of the most lucrative, rich, successful places to be. It seems like everyone everywhere is opening up a restaurant or has a pop-up or has a cloud kitchen or has an F&B concept. Tell me your thoughts on the duality.
Look, you're absolutely right. In this region, it's extremely competitive, and you do get people opening concepts and cloud kitchens and so on and so forth. But the fundamental issue is that they don't have the knowledge to back up. They don't have market knowledge of the region. They don't have knowledge of how to run a kitchen. They don't have knowledge how to run a business. They don't have knowledge of branding. So for me, I've been very fortunate that I've had all of these lessons along the way, and I learned hard, you know. So for me, I think, yes, if you look at, I can't remember the numbers now. Some people say 14,000, some people say 16,000 just in Dubai with restaurants.
Oh, it's crazy.
Right?
It's crazy.
But what will happen is the market will saturate at some point.
Yes.
So it'll get to the top, it will drop again, and only the very best operators will survive, right? You have to know everything about everything. You have to know everything about everybody. What's your competitor doing? What can you do better? You have to analyze every single thing, from your social media to the reservation to what exactly is the hostess saying to the guest when they're welcoming the guest and when the guest is exiting. These small details, the chef coming out, saying your name, having a great restaurant is not enough anymore. Those details matter so much, it's not even funny. So I'll give you a live example.
Please.
Let's say you have a beautiful Friday or Saturday night and you're really excited about going to a restaurant, and you know it's been hyped, you know it's going to be a little bit pricey, but you're ready to go.
Okay.
Hostess comes in, blanks you, just says hi, do you have a reservation? And is like that. You're already out.
Yeah.
You're already out.
You've just described many of my nights, just by the way.
You know, instead of, good evening, how are you? Welcome, great to see you. May I take your name? Oh, you don't have a reservation? No issue at all. Let me just fix that for you. Would you like to take a drink by the bar?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
It changes the whole experience for the customer.
And so what I'm saying is that even from the reservation experience to going at the very, very end when they give you a little box of chocolates or whatever it may be, here's our personal WhatsApp number, so whenever you want to come, let us know, we'll fix you a special table. These things count for so much these days, because don't forget, everyone is on the phone, but what we really crave is human connection, right? So when somebody does that for you, you're like, oh wow, you know what, next time I think I'm gonna, and that's it. So the differentiators are really big. Those details count for everything. So it's not just about the social media. So I think it's a tough market, and it's only going to get bigger. What I mean by that is that, of course, we have things happening in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
You know, Oman, don't underestimate what's happening in Oman. It's a beautiful place, and a lot of talent is going on there.
I've heard lots happening in Egypt as well.
Egypt as well. I mean, it's, you know, there's so much going on, and it's amazing for the region, and I'm really happy with that. But if you're going to open any type of concept, understand what you're getting yourself into first, and work with the right people in order to lift you.
Yes.
You know?
Because I think you touched on it. The truth is, in this region, what doesn't get a lot of attention is only the strong survive, because there's a lot of really interesting concepts that have been opened and closed within a year, sometimes even less. I want to go back to the example that you gave me, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because I want to talk on it just for another minute. I have met such incredible chefs like yourself, and just restaurant owners, and just beautiful people in the F&B space, and I will go visit their restaurants, and I'm telling you, the hostess, the host at the door is always the person that lets them down for me.
Right.
I've had this experience so many times. I would be standing there wondering, like, I mean, but I met Chef James, he's awesome. This is not the same, like, energy that I got from him. Why am I getting it from you? And I get it. People are tired, they have, you know, long hours, they deal with not so great customers all day long. I understand all of those things, but I have felt that pain point as a customer before.
Yeah, look, from a very basic level, if you go to a 5-star luxury resort, the first person you will meet is the guy who's opening the door to the car. That he or she should be super friendly. You go to the reception should be amazing. So it's those first touch points is what you remember. And in a hotel, when you have breakfast, and if the breakfast is amazing, you're going to tell 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
If the breakfast is horrendous, you're going to tell 20. You know, so those small, as I told you, those details are really key. And again, that's why whenever we do a briefing with the teams, we, you know, really aggressively talk about every single guest coming in, who they are, why they are here. Make sure you greet them by name, so on and so forth. If they've repeaters, welcome back, great to see you again. It's so important, but for me, you know, I'm even to the point where I will take the host or the hostesses to elocution lessons for them to greet people in the right way. Because at the end of the day, when you're coming in and you're spending your hard-earned cash, you want to be welcomed in a really beautiful way. We're going to take your mind off everything, what's going on, and we're just going to welcome you and allow you to come into our world with a big hug, you know, and welcome you, and you're going to have a great time. We're going to look after you. What you don't want is to have those feelings that you're like, yeah, I'm excited,
and then let down at the right at the door.
Because there's nothing worse, because then it just spoils everything.
As a customer, I've actually left places or just had one drink and left, and because I'm like, I don't want to be here now, because like I was so excited, like you said, and now I just want to go home, you know?
And then, do you tell the chef, by the way, your hostess was really bad tonight, or do you just not go back?
You see?
You see?
And sometimes it's easier just to not go back as a customer.
But then you've lost business.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing, is that like, how do you give that critique in a way in order for that business to grow, or for that person to specifically learn? It doesn't mean you want to fire somebody.
No.
It just means that, okay, we really made a mistake here. We need to.
Yeah.
So, and for me, I would rather tell the chef straight away and just be like, listen, just to let you know, Chief.
Because that's going to help his business, right?
Yeah. Because it's really important. It's that welcome. The food, you know, is going to be good.
But also, I want to say, and you can tell me, you can correct me. Could it also be that the people that are at the front desk and in the restaurant, they're not empowered, so they haven't been trained properly, they haven't been told? Because a lot of the times also, there'd be a very special ingredient on the menu, and it's been talked about on Instagram the whole month, and people are coming for that specific thing.
Right.
And then if you get to the door and you're like, hi, is the amazing carrot on the menu, is it here? And the hostess has no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
So sometimes it's also because they don't have the knowledge.
Absolutely. But that knowledge should also come from the entire team.
Yes.
You know, hi everybody, so we've got this beautiful heirloom heritage carrot, it's 3 years old, blah, 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 cryovac, whatever. This is the tasting for everybody. Okay, any questions, so on and so forth. So you're right, that empowerment is really important. You know, and for me, I do a very basic thing also with the chefs in the front of house. If there is a delay for any course, starter, main course, dessert, whatever, throw in this specific course and say it's on the house from the chef. I don't care, just say. And they're like, oh, but what about the food cost? I'm like, well, that's my responsibility, it's not you. I don't want the guest to suffer. So these small touches, it could be a drink, it could be a tea or coffee at the end of the meal. Whatever it is, you know, if you do something unexpected, again, amazing. You're going to have a really beautiful experience. So it's all the, again, I don't want to bang on and on and on, but every single detail in our line of hospitality, and it doesn't matter whether it's fast food or high-end fine dining, really counts in this market because it is so competitive.
Look, I can see the passion coming out of you while you're sitting here talking about this. I think this is the perfect segue to talk about Group JKP, which is your consulting firm, right?
Yes.
I want to know some of the work that you do, some of the clients that you've had, and some success stories that have come out of it. Also, like the things that you've implemented, the stuff we've been discussing. Let's talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so essentially Group JKP is myself and my wife. We founded it together, and there are 4 umbrellas under that specific business. So of course there is the consulting, and within the consulting you have obviously, if you're a brand new hotel and you need culinary, we do that. If you're a coffee shop owner and just need some menu implementations, we do that. So anything and everything to do with culinary. Then of course we have the Chef JKP podcast. So the podcast is part of the business that we do.
Huge fan.
Thank you. And then of course there's the personal brand, Chef JKP, and we work alongside different companies, so on and so forth. And then the last part is the gourmet protein bars that we've just launched, and it's called Love Fits. So that there are 4 key elements to that business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite?
Oh.
I know that's like asking which is your favorite kid, but what do you really
favorite?
Enjoy the most?
I think anything that pushes me outside my comfort zone.
Okay.
So at the moment, it's the gourmet protein bars.
Okay.
Reason why we had those made is because 2 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
I'm sorry to hear
So she couldn't have, so she loves chocolate, yeah? She loves chocolate, but she couldn't have sugar, but she had to have protein. So during that time, we got talking and I was like, there's got to be a way for us to do this. And we ended up formulating these protein bars. But also at the same time, I was like, she has to enjoy them. They've got to be really tasty. So we've now got them ready. So the way that they work, or the way that they are, is that they're 0 sugar. There's 1 gram of carbohydrate. So technically that carb turns to sugar.
Okay.
But we work with very specific food technologists. And then the gourmet part is that down the center of the bar, there's a caramel, a specific caramel. We coat it in really beautiful sort of chocolate, and then little crunchy bits on the top, depending on what the flavors are. So then the mouthfeel of the bar is really lovely and beautiful. But it's essentially it's a snack bar that happens to be high in protein. So I don't like to say protein bars because everybody goes, oh my God, it's for gym, and you know, no. It's just something that you can enjoy. And the whole point of that story is that for anybody who's going through something like that, they can have something which is guilt-free and is not going to affect them. So that's why it's food manufacturing. So because that's you know, it's really pushing me because I don't know anything about it. And understanding how to get into supermarkets, how to get into retail.
Right. Because now it's a retail game for you.
I have no idea about it, to be honest, and I'm very like hands up. I don't know, and I'm learning about it, and that's why I sort of quite like it at the moment because it's very different.
So, first of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry to hear about your wife, and I do hope she's
now she's all good. Thank God.
Okay,
Yes,
thank God. Does she like the chocolate bars? Is
she
it
loves
tasty?
them. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
she loves them. So we're about to launch 12 different flavors.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us where you're launching or not yet?
No. So at the moment we're online.
Okay.
We're available in a few gyms and things like that.
Okay.
At the moment, not yet in sort of any
Retail.
supermarkets at the moment. But if you want to get hold of them, then online easily.
And out of all the 12 flavors you said, right? Which one is her favorite?
Her favorite, I think, is the raspberry cheesecake.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, raspberry cheesecake. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And everybody seems to like that one a lot.
Yeah. Fascinating. So going to the consulting side of what you do, I know that you've worked with some restaurants in the UAE as well. Can you tell me what you did for them and how is that going?
Yeah, so again, every client is very different. So there's not one specific sort of thing that I do. The clients come to us and they say, look, we're looking for XYZ, and we tell them, okay, how long is the project? Oh, we're opening next week. You know, so you have to cater to everybody's different needs. But my job essentially is to go in, understand the food,
okay,
understand pricing, understand sourcing, also hiring of the staff, seeing how it's literally all of those things, and it's very much advisory.
Okay.
You know, I do get in the kitchen. I do show them hints and tips and all of that sort of thing. I design the kitchens. You know, we work with everybody and anyone in the space.
Right.
You know, the marketing, the branding. There's a lot to it. Mm-hmm. But as I said, it doesn't matter how big or how small the project is. A lot of people have different needs. So what's happened before is they said, look, we need you to just work on one thing. Mm-hmm. We work on one thing. Then they work with another consultant. Hasn't worked out. We come back because we are very true to how we work and what we do.
Mm-hmm. And you've done it successfully before, so
yes,
you know what you're doing.
Yes, yeah. But also at the same time, what a lot of, I would say, first-time restaurateurs or owners don't seem to understand, and I really want to push that message, is that the beating heart or the engine of any restaurant is the kitchen. What I mean by that, if you have a Ferrari, you're not going to put a Fiat engine. Not that there's anything wrong with Fiat, but you see what I mean? Is that you have to spend money into the kitchen with high-end brands because they will look after you.
Because that is the engine, right?
That's the engine, and it will last for 20 years. If you go for cheaper brands, in 6 months' time, you have to pay again and again and again. And the specific problem or challenge that we have in this region is the summer, because the refrigeration units, they get overworked because of the heat.
Right.
So if you have 200,000 dirhams worth of stock in your freezer and it dies, that stock could have been 800,000 dirhams worth of sales.
Right.
So you have to understand all of these mechanics and all of these details. That's what I'm saying. As a chef, you have to understand everything and anything. If there's a weird sound coming from the chiller, well, we need to have a look. So that's what I'm saying to all operators, whether it's bar, coffee, kitchen. You have to invest in solid brands because they're going to look after you.
Right. And these are the kinds of things that only if you have been in all parts of the business, you would actually look out for and be aware of.
Absolutely. But that's why you have a lot of consultants in the region.
Right.
You know, but for me, the biggest thing I've found is that they don't study the client, or they don't necessarily have the knowledge required in order just to do the most basic job.
Right.
Because I'm not there to take the client's money. I'm there to make sure that once my job is done, the client doesn't call me back because I've done my job, and then they're making the money, so to speak.
I know that you've also done quite a lot of collaborations with Emirati chefs, and Emirati cuisine is important to you.
Yes.
Why is that?
Look, so at the moment, I'm very fortunate that I'm heavily involved and working with Scene Holdings, and that's with a chef called Faisal Al-Harmoudi. And when I first came to the region, I was based in Oman. I was based in Musandam region, so close to Ras Al Khaimah. And my job was to be the fine dining chef of a really beautiful signature restaurant. Now, I was tasked with doing tasting menus, which was easy for me because I came from that background. But the interesting thing I found was that if I had European guests, they would hate the European tasting menus But if I had European guests and I was doing local food, but in a fine dining way, their minds would be blown. So then, if you think about Italian food, Spanish food, French, they all have their base, but they all have modern Spanish, modern British, modern, you know? Why can we not have that here? Why is it that you can't do a fine dining hummus? Because you have the most amazing flavors in this region. And that's why I want to understand the flavors of the Emirates and how to take that onto the next level. So what we're doing now with Faisal and the team is that we're using Emirati ingredients and we're fusioning it with Mediterranean flavors, which is working really, really well. But I'm also learning the history of, you know, why do we have a black lime here or alumi? You know, Emirati spices. How many spices are in Emirati spices?
Yes.
How many different types of dates do we have? Camel milk. What can we do with it? So it's really amazing. And I'm very passionate about the region itself, and I'm very passionate about the Emirates.
Why?
I just think it's so amazing for a country to welcome you with open arms, number one. Secondly, I've learned a huge amount of things about myself and the people here, and I want to give back. You know, I think we have so many incredible things to celebrate. Gastronomy, of course, is massive now, but also the heritage part is really big. People say, oh, there's no history here. There is history. You just have to search for it.
Yeah.
And it's some really beautiful areas of the Emirates. And for me, it's a way of giving back to really showcase what's going on. And that's why we do the podcast, is because I want to showcase the talents of the region and to say, whenever you're coming on holiday or vacation, come. You're welcome, but you know, check out these pockets of brilliance that are here.
Yeah. Almost everybody that I've done these interviews with have expressed their gratitude for the life and the opportunities that the UAE has been able to open up and give to them. And I think it is such a beautiful thing when you are welcomed in this way by a country that's not necessarily your home, but they make it home for you.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. And for me, that's why, again, working alongside different chefs and you know, mentoring different chefs in different ways is really important for me, because I love what hospitality has done for me personally, and I want to pay it forward, and I want the industry to be alive, you know, and to keep thriving. And we have so many amazing restaurants here, so many amazing people, but I want also at the same time, if you're just beginning the journey, I want to tell you the truth.
Yes.
It's tough, but it's the most rewarding industry you can be in.
And you have given back, because I want to talk about the Dubai Chefs Collective. You started this 4 years ago, and it's supposed to be, or it is, a community of chefs. And you tackle quite a lot of things. I imagine there's support being given back and forth in the community, but one of the key things you bring up is mental health. It goes without saying that mental health is a very important topic, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. But I want to know from you, why was this important?
Well, look, very simply, 2020, everybody had a very, very tough time.
Yes.
Chefs themselves are not HR. Chefs and HR, they don't really go together. But when you're being told by your general manager or your HR team, you have to let your team go. So remember back to what I was saying about the pirates.
Yes.
Imagine you're the captain of that ship.
Oh, right, yes.
You have to let them go. And don't forget, you've built a relationship with your team. You know their family, you know their financial status, you know what's going on, you know how. So mentally, these sort of head chefs or high-level exec chefs, you're not trained to fire somebody. You're not trained to say, sorry, we're not going to pay you for 9 months, sorry. Or like, it's tough. So initially, the group, and it's a WhatsApp group. A load of, it was about 20 of us, and quite high level, well-known chefs.
Sure.
Got in the group, and it started off as just like keeping in touch and all that kind of stuff. But we had pockets of people who were executive pastry chefs and group chefs, and they were like, oh, I need this recipe, I need that recipe, do you have this? And then they started sharing the recipe.
Wow.
Then we started sharing CVs. Oh, look, guys, I'm really sorry, but my team have been let go. This is the CVs, can you help us? Yeah, sure. And then it just grew. Then it started, okay, I'm looking for some suppliers. And then it started growing and growing and growing and growing.
How many people in the group now?
So now I think we have around 102, but these are sort of very high level chefs. And sometimes they're very quiet, sometimes they're very loud and vocal, it depends on what happens. But overall, it's a support network. But the mental health part is that we all have something going on in our lives.
Of course.
Right? Hospitality is a pressure cooker enough. And people, at times, they just need a place to talk. None of us in the Dubai Chefs Collective are psychologists. Just to make that very clear. All we do is chat. So if somebody says privately, there's 4 key senior members, and basically they can reach out to anybody, just say, oh, I need to go for a chat. And of course it's done massively confidentially, and we take it through that way. In the same vein, I've just done a TED talk on something called a theory that I've come up with for a long time called the Vesuvius effect.
Okay.
And the story of Mount Vesuvius, in Pompeii, it sort of wiped out the entire village. There's even a film about it. But the reason why I thought about it is because, like a volcano, we all have pressure, and specifically chefs, they seem that, and the thing is, with chefs, number one, they're very sensitive people.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how tough or hard they look, they're really, really sensitive people. They take everything to heart. Small complaint, touch of salt here and there, yeah. Inside, they're fuming, yeah? Even though they say, no, it's fine, trust me, I know enough of them.
This is my fear when I need to ask for Tabasco sauce.
So the thing is that a lot of chefs, they'll keep, and hospitality professionals generally, you take complaints, whatever it is, and you keep everything in, right?
Right.
Everything in, and it builds, the pressure builds, and then the smallest thing can make you erupt. And unfortunately, we've had cases throughout the world where the most brilliant, inspirational gastronomic leaders have taken their lives because they were not able to simply have a chat. And that's why it's so important.
Wow, yeah.
That's why it's so important, is because, there's already pressures, all that kind of stuff, but simply opening up to somebody, and you don't need to say, I've got a mental health issue, or this is going on. It's just about being there for that person.
Yeah,
and
just a chat even about nothing.
Right. And I think that's what people need to recognize, that even in our younger members of staff, for all the leaders, it's really important to check in on them.
Right.
Checking in is a 5-minute conversation. And it's not just about, how are you?
Yes.
No, it can't be superficial. Just tell me how you really are. Is everything okay?
Yes.
Is there anything I can help you with or support you with? And you have to really dig deep. For me, it takes usually 3 times to ask.
Right.
Before the guard is down, and
Of
then
course.
they go, actually, chef, this is going on. Because I can see it.
Yeah.
And you can pick it up quite quickly. But I think it's very important. It doesn't matter if it's front of house, back of house, hotel, reception, whatever. I think it's really key for hospitality leaders to check in on their teams, because without your team, you are a nothing. Straightforward.
That's saying that when you take care of your people will take care of your customers. And I think it was Richard Branson who said that. I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but it cannot be oversaid. It's so true, and it will always be so true. But it doesn't happen as much as it should.
Correct.
Because checking in with people is a matter of any business like livelihood. If your people are not okay, they're not going to do a good job. Your customers are not going to be okay. Your business isn't going to be okay if they're not okay. It goes back to people.
Right.
No matter what business you're in, everything you do is a people-to-people business.
2 million percent. 2 million percent. And I think you're absolutely right. If you look after your team, they will look after you and they'll look after the business. But you have to make sure that you're there for them, you know? You have to make sure. And that check-in, it could be a laugh, you're just joking, whatever. But it's really key. And people say, oh, I'm time poor these days. Everybody's time poor.
Yes.
It's about managing that time.
Yes.
You know, so I think that is really important. I recently spoke to Faye, who is the owner of Mythos and Nola. Her chef's been with her for about 13 years.
Whoa.
Which is unheard of in this region.
Yeah.
Purely because she's really looked after him. And I'm not saying financially in that respect.
Like in a deeper way.
It's just respecting him and treating him as part of the family. It's not about he's an employee. No.
He's a human being.
Right. And so I think there's a lot of things. Even Panchali Mahendra, you know, and you know she's looking after 11 Woodfire. There's, I mean, lots of different things. Her 4 or 5 key members of staff have been with her for over 5 years. You know, so and to me that speaks volumes because it
the
shows
kind of leadership that exists.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why it's really important. But I think mental health generally has to be discussed, has to be spoken about, and that's why the government now, you know, has really, you know, recognized that, and you know they're doing things now which are really helping. You know, so it's really fantastic.
I think the minute you stop treating people like people, they'll stop acting towards you like, you know, with humanity. That humanness is so important. I couldn't agree with you more. It's a very good initiative. Well done.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So, yeah, we're very fortunate, as I said, and we're there. It's a support mechanism, but the most important thing it is really about mental health.
I want to jump to sustainability. What does that look like for you?
I think there's 2 parts to sustainability. Number 1 is the human sustainability. Again, everybody wants a work-life balance, but you also have to work.
Yes.
So I was having a conversation just recently with the Hilton Group, and I put a crazy thought in their mind.
Okay.
At the moment, in a lot of places, and it's been happening for quite some time, in kitchens, there is a 4-day work week.
Okay.
4 days. But then you get 3 days off. Right? So for those 4 days, you're going to work super hard, but you're going to get 3 days off. Imagine what you can do with 3 days off. That, for me, is an initiative which is about that human sustainability factor and working as a team, because nobody wants to have a Vesuvius effect, right? Nobody wants to explode. Everybody wants to have a work-life balance. Everybody wants to be with their friends, family, so on and so forth. But how can you do that in this region?
In this industry.
And in this industry, and that's something for me that I'm super passionate about.
Okay.
You know, so I think that is one thing that we really have to focus on, is the human sustainability. And then of course the sustainability part, for me it's all about the food sustainability. And again, the government has taken some monumental steps
Big time.
in order to make sustainability a key part of what we do within hospitality and within the country when it comes to food security. So again, working with growers, farm to table, what can we do? Seasonality of fish,
Yes.
seasonality of vegetables. Again, the background I come from is that the farmer or the grower will tell me
What's in season?
what's in season, so they dictate to me. That's the way I've always worked.
And they're getting that from the environment.
And they're telling me, look, James, this potato is best at this time, so plan your menu around that, and it's at its peak. That's its best price. So I'll give you a small example.
Sure.
In England, the season for strawberries is 8 weeks roughly. So I've got 8 weeks to have the best possible strawberries. So that's when I'm going to do my strawberry menu, you name it, everything strawberries. But the price will be at its cheapest. So the actual strawberry will be at its optimum, so it'll be at its very peak, the very best it will be. It will taste amazing.
Win-win.
It's cheap because it's in season, and I'm working with the farmers, and I'm going to give my customers the very best.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't see that. You have strawberries in winter, you have asparagus in, you know, all these sorts of things, which is very difficult. That's why for me, again, it's very important here to work with those farmers, and you tell me when it's going to be grown. You tell me when it's in season, so then we can start to, you know, develop a really amazing menu.
James, I want to ask you something about that ecosystem. How do you bring the customer into that? Is it a matter of communication, awareness, education to make the customer feel okay with a changing menu, for the lack of a better word, based on seasonality? Because oftentimes you're a slave to your customer, right? So they really like your potatoes, and it doesn't matter that that potato is not in season. They want it. How do you deal with that?
So for me, it is about all of the above, everything you just mentioned. Education, sourcing correctly, don't forget, everybody loves stories. So put the story. Our menu changes seasonally to comply with sustainability and to give the customer the very best experience you possibly can have.
Right.
If you have those touch points, and then the hostess is talking about, oh, are you here tonight to have the potato menu? Yes. You know, it's all of the above. It's
getting them excited about trying new things.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to get a lot of stick for this. You know, a lot of chefs, of course, they talk about, like, you know, the best fish, the truffle, and this. No, you can have, and I guarantee you can make a cauliflower be a luxurious ingredient.
You can.
If you treat it beautifully with respect. And everything. So again, I'll tell you something really funny that I hate.
Okay.
And I tell you what, like, I hate having a tomato salad, right?
Okay.
Which is fresh out of the fridge.
Okay.
You know, so you know, like if you have a carpaccio or whatever it is, it's a mixed salad, and they put it in front of you, the plate is already cold, right? So, and then you're going to put this tomato or whatever in your mouth, and it doesn't taste like a tomato, it tastes like refrigerated water. A tomato is grown in the sun.
Yes.
Right? So our job as the chef is to serve it how Mother Nature would want us to have it, right?
Yes.
You know, of course we do our tweaks, but that's our job.
Yes.
Right? The farmer gives it to us when it's best, and we respect that ingredient. We put it on the plate with respect, not fresh out of the chiller. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's things like that. And again, details.
Right. Yes. I have to
Details.
say, a friend of mine actually told me never to put the tomatoes in the fridge, and I've left them out, and I'm not going to lie, it has changed the game for me and my tomatoes.
100%. But it's basic, right?
Yeah, and I never thought about that because, like you said, tomatoes are grown outside in the heat, in the sun. So it makes sense to me now, but I didn't get it before.
Of course, of course. But yeah, so for me, and the thing is that sustainability now, we've got some amazing people in the industry who are really pushing the sustainability part. But it doesn't stop. We have to keep going and going and going. And, you know, have amazing amounts of information. You know, we even have one restaurant in DIFC that their entire electricity is coming from renewable energy. Imagine, so I think there are over 100 restaurants in DIFC, right?
Yeah.
One of those restaurants is getting their direct electrical energy from the sun. 100% renewable.
That is very interesting.
That is a game changer. It means that actually everybody can do it.
I was just going to say, if one case study shows it is proven to be successful, we can copy-paste this.
Right. And we're very fortunate in this part of the world that we have the sun.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, and that's
very
what
interesting.
And that's what should happen. But that should only, you know, is it going to be legislation? Not, because, you know, there's different things, but I think it's a really interesting time.
It's a good start.
Yeah, to really focus in on things like that could work for us.
Look, I know you said you don't do much cooking these days, but what was the first dish you ever made that was signature to you or popular, or what was that dish? Because I feel like all chefs have that one dish.
So for me, I love anything to do with fish, but I also love to make bread
Okay, that's interesting.
from scratch,
Okay.
and not with a KitchenAid machine. I'm talking like with my hands.
Okay,
So there's two. So I'm going to give you two answers.
go for it.
Number one, proper sourdough bread,
Ooh,
but making it by hand.
okay.
None of this like machine, put it, no. Like I'm talking about like kneading
Kneading.
it for 20 minutes, smashing it, beating it. Usually quite good when you're in a bad mood.
Right.
So you know, so if you
Good
see
tip.
me if you see me making bread, you know,
Yeah, you're working something out.
yeah, yeah. But the other one is it's either sea bream, because I love sea bream fillets. So I used to do it whole. So we would basically take out all of the bone. So imagine a fish is like that, and it's got the two fillets, and in between you've got the bones.
Right.
You do something called tunnel boning. It's a technical term where you take all the bones out of the middle,
Okay.
but you still keep it intact.
Okay, got it.
And then we stuff it with king crab,
Oof.
and then you bake it with lots of like fennel and lime and things like that. So that's one. And the other one I love is scallops. So scallops, again, for chefs, they're very technical things because you have to cook scallops to medium rare. But it's very difficult because they're very small. And you have to respect the scallop because it's about 2 to 3 years old for it to be the very
Delicate.
best. So yeah, but I love anything to do with seafood because I think it's much harder to control seafood than it is meat.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a fish head really.
Oh, sounds delicious. And when you're not cooking, what are you ordering?
Oh. It's a mixture. It's a mixture. So I love pizza.
What's
I
your
love
pizza
pizza.
order? What are you getting? What kind
Depends
of
if
pizza?
I'm in Abu Dhabi or in Dubai.
Oh, okay, give me both.
So Dubai, pit fire.
Of course.
Abu Dhabi, marmalata.
Okay.
If you haven't tried them, they're going to change your life.
Okay.
Hashtag just saying. They're unbelievable, unbelievable.
And what kind of pizza do you get from there?
So they do like different mixes of, but the one which is really interesting to me is they have one with so pepperoni sausage, but with honey over the top with like spiced honey.
Oh.
So you have that sweet and sour and it's spicy, which is really really amazing. And they do another one with local figs.
Okay.
But
On a
they-
pizza?
But they only do 5 pizzas, marmalata, but they sell out all the time. They sell out because they're only open from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. 5 days a week.
Look, I really enjoy exploring Abu Dhabi's food scene. So I am going to make a trip and try this.
Yeah. So definitely that. And if what else? I'm just thinking. I really love, because my wife is Russian, so Russian food. Like a lot of people don't really know about it too much, but that scene's coming up, and also Turkish food. I love Turkish food.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
You've given us some really cool new finds.
Yeah.
How do you measure success?
I'm the type of person who doesn't stop, and people would say, "Oh, James, what you've done so many things," but I don't see it as success per se. I see it as a work ethic,
Okay.
right? So some people could say, "Oh, success is opening different restaurants or owning different restaurants or having
Right.
Michelin stars, this, that, and the other." For me, success is what I'm doing now, which is giving back to people. That's what I really love to do. Don't forget, us chefs, we're givers.
Yes.
We love to give,
Yes.
right? So for me, success is giving back to the country, giving back to the industry. That's how I measure it for myself.
Well, I really like that perception because perspective rather, I've never heard that before. Because like you said, everybody measures success differently. Some people want to own restaurants and that's success. Some money,
Right.
family, whatever the case may be. But for you, it's a work ethic, which is nice because it feels like it's very continuous.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm very fortunate, and I don't take it for granted, that I've done so many things. I never thought I would do 2 TED Talks in a year. I never thought that the podcast would be on Emirates Airlines.
Yes.
I never thought I was going to be on TV. I never dreamt that when I was working for Gordon, I would cook for him in his house for his wife and kids. Like, I've never thought I would work with, you know, royal family. You know, different things like this. I never thought that I would be fortunate enough to go to like Michelin press trips, for example, you know. But all of this is because of the foundation I had for the work ethic.
Your work ethic.
Yeah, but at the same time, I love to give back when it comes to knowledge and things like this, really. Because I love the industry generally.
You know, in the beginning of this conversation, you told me about your dad and how he said, listen, as a chef, you could do this and this. And what does your dad think about the career that you've made with that one gesture that he said?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, he passed 2 years ago, but he would always take, like, he was always taking the mickey out of me, all the time. But you know, in the end, you know, he was really proud.
I can imagine.
He was really proud because he would see. So he never told me this because he was a type of dad who would sort of rub things in your face and always take the mickey and be like, "Oh, I can cook better than you." You know, who's this Ramsay guy?
Don't let Gordon know you say that.
But you know, the thing for me that I found most sort of touching was that anything I ever did or had when it comes to the media and stuff, he kept.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's precious.
And then I was like, you know, that was really big. But he would also tell me, like, I cannot believe that you started off washing dishes.
And look at you now.
And now you're doing this. So yeah. So it was, yeah, he was very proud, and you know, my family know it's, you know, I'm very fortunate.
That's very precious.
Yeah.
Very precious. In order to stay in this game and in order to continue having that work ethic, you have to be motivated by something. What motivates you?
Look, I'm not motivated by money. I never have been. Otherwise, you wouldn't work 20 hours a day, right? Honestly, and for me, what motivates me is continuously pushing myself in terms of knowledge. So I don't have the luxury of sitting down for 2 to 3 hours a day consuming books, but I do through podcasts.
Sure.
And listening to lots of different people. At the same time, I really love to challenge myself, you know, continuously. I don't think that will ever stop. I don't think that will ever stop. So I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep growing. But as I said, now as I get a bit older, I really want to push the educational part and showcase how amazing this part of the world is. And whether it's through the podcast, whether it's through TV, whatever it is. And I'm going to keep growing with my knowledge. But the other things I like to do is work for free still in different Michelin-starred kitchens, but not in this country, in different countries, because I want to know the techniques.
Learn something new.
Yeah, and I want to know, okay, can I still do it? I still want to push myself, right?
Yes. So. Look, well, James, I certainly hope you keep pushing yourself so we can see and hear more of you. You are quite a voice in the region already. We think you have surprised yourself. You've certainly surprised us, and please keep doing that. It has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. I don't even know how long we've spoken for, but I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
Just 5 minutes, yeah.
You're such a joy to be around. You have amazing energy. Thank you for dedicating the time, and this is going to be a great episode that I can't wait for everybody to watch.
Well, look, thank you very much for the invite. I really appreciate, you know, the time to do this, and also to ask me and navigate some tricky questions, which is amazing. So, because normally it's the other way around.
Right, you're on the other side
Yeah.
now, and you've had a pretty adventurous and exciting journey, and I really look forward to seeing what you do next. But it's not over just yet.
All right.
Before you go, we have this segment on the show where we do this or that questions.
All right.
So I will just give you 2 options.
So like quick fire.
Exactly, and you pick whatever sounds the best idea to you. Cinema popcorn or homemade nachos?
Oh. I love both, but I'm going to have to go for cinema popcorn.
Nice choice. I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to leave it to you. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Hotel or resort?
resort.
Nice. Breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Depends what state of mind I was in the night before.
Good factor.
So dinner for breakfast or breakfast for dinner? Breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, me too. Morning service or evening service?
Evening service.
Why?
Okay, do you know why?
Why?
So morning service, everybody sort of understands that, you know, you've got to get the job done, so on and so forth. But in the evening service, especially in the places I've worked, it's more magical because everybody gets super pumped up.
Right.
That's
the
why.
energy wise.
It's the energy wise. And people are spending like a lot more money. So you have to deliver.
Okay.
That's
okay.
why.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
It's
really.
been a pleasure.
Thank
Really. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.